Does culture inside of the workplace really matter? Does it perfect your performance? Does it perfect the overall performance of the company? And where does it start? Does it start at the top or does it start at the bottom? Today, we're going to talk about culture and how it affects you and the place that you work. Welcome to Car Talk, where I give you my 20 years of experience on my 20-minute drive to work. When it comes to culture, this is a non-negotiable with me. Culture, in my opinion, is one of the most important things within the company. Not just the culture that the company expects, not the culture that the manager is trying to put in place, but the culture has to be all the way down. It has to go all the way down, and every single person from entry level to the top person in the company all have to have the exact same culture. And the easiest way to explain this that I've seen firsthand in the car business is there's always going to be three circles in the car business of groups of people when it comes to the salespeople. And in the car business, when you're a sales manager, the salespeople are the biggest group of people within inside the dealership. Therefore, they determine the culture, at least on the sales side, more so than the manager, the finance people, and so on. Okay, now the manager job, my job, is to put the culture in place and make it non-negotiable. But I also have to follow up to make sure that the culture is actually getting followed. And the moment that it's not, I got to recognize it and I have to put a stop to it. Okay, so here's what I think when it comes to the three circles in the sales department that affect the culture. Okay, you got the manager, he gets the culture the way that he wants, he talks about it, and he lets everybody know this is the way the culture is. This is the culture of our store. With me, the culture of my store that I like to run is if it's good for the customer and it's good for the dealership, it's always going to be good for you as a salesperson. So always put the dealership and the customer first, and you'll always be taken care of. So inside the dealership, you're going to have these three circles of salespeople. You're going to have the first circle is going to be your top performers. This circle, most of the time, is pretty small. Depending on the size of your store, you're going to have a few people. Smaller store, you might only have one, but you're going to have a few people in this circle. This circle, these people show up, do their job every single day, do what's expected, and they do it at a high level. They don't get involved in none of the bullshit. They don't get involved in none of the, the side circles around the coffee pot. They don't get involved in the drama too often. They just show up and they put their best foot forward. They're training. They're doing their tasks. They're doing everything they're supposed to do because they show up to work for one reason: to sell another car. And these people are the top performers. And then you got the second circle, which to me is like the heartbeat of the dealership. This is where you're going to have kind of the above average and the average salespeople and the new hires. This is where all these people are together, right? Because you're going to have most of these people in sales. When you watch how many cars get sold, there's always a big pack of the floor of the dealership that sell about the exact same many. And they're all good friends. Hopefully, if you have a good culture, they're all good friends. They all talk, and they're all there for one another. Okay, they might not be the best salespeople in the entire world. They might not go above and beyond when it comes to trying to sell the car, but they're going to do everything that you ask. They're going to be the leaders of the culture. They're going to be the ones, because what they recognize is when they show up to work, they're making a great living, and it's a fantastic place to work, and they don't want to ruin that. They don't want to ruin that. They show up, they make a great living, they sell a decent amount of cars, everybody's treating everybody super nice, and they don't want that to get ruined because they do recognize how awesome the culture is. Then you got the third circle. And this circle, again, hopefully at your dealership, is non-existent or super small, like one person. And this circle is just the most negative person. They don't sell very many. They just crap everybody out. They're always making excuses. They're always blaming the F&I people. They're blaming the used car manager. They're blaming inventory. They're just blaming everything on why they can't sell cars. And what they do is they go into the second circle and they try to attach onto somebody. Usually it's a new hire, but they try to attach to somebody and pull them into their circle because nobody wants to be alone. If you're singled out, you're the negative person, you're the person selling the least amount of cars, and you're making all these excuses why you're not selling a lot of cars. Wouldn't it be more valid if you had somebody to join you and somebody else to take on those excuses and make those same kind of blame games to everybody else? So they're going to go into your second circle, which is the heartbeat of the dealership, and they're going to try to take people from that to go into their circle. I don't think they're doing this to be like mischievous or any of that. I don't think they're doing that like intentionally. They're doing it because they're a human and they don't want to be singled out and they don't want to be alone. And this sucks, especially with coming from like a guy like me who has a huge heart, wants to help everybody out. And early in my career, I would give these people so much attention because I wanted to break them of it. I wanted to break them of their habit. I wanted to break them of stop complaining, stop being negative. I wanted to be positive with them. I wanted to do more training. But I came to a point where I realized you can't save them. If they don't want to be saved, you can't save them. So the faster you can get rid of these people in your dealership, the faster that the culture that you actually talk about will start to happen. Now, these people might have be with the dealership for a long time. You might befriended them. But if you're talking about culture and you want culture the way you say you do, these are the first people that need to go. And hopefully there's only one of them. But you got to let these people go because they're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin every new hire that you hire, and they're going to take them down. And then here's the other thing about it, which is amazing because the middle culture, like I talked about, the middle circle is so amazing and such a heartbeat. You're going to have 2 to 3, depending on your store, 2 to 3 to 4 people that are in the middle that are just average salespeople, right? They're just showing up. They're just learning it, but they have a positive attitude. They're loving what they're doing. They're loving everything about the dealership. And they're going to see those people at that bottom circle, and they're going to try their hardest to bring them up to the second circle. So now not only do you have that person at the bottom trying to take down your new hires and ruin everybody, you got people in the middle spending their time trying to convince them to come up. And it's just not going to happen. Bless their heart for wanting to do it. That's awesome. That's what the culture is all about. But these people need to focus on themselves and improve, not worry about this person. Okay, I promise you, if that person is being that negative, there's no fixing them. Okay, they have to make the choice. Nobody in the dealership is going to fix them except for them. Now, the awesome thing about that middle circle again is hopefully you got a few people in that middle circle that look to the person at the very top, and they're trying to do what they do. They're talking to them. They're asking questions. They're trying to figure out how they sell so many cars. They're trying to do everything they can to be more like this person. And they're talking and they're trying to move up. And that person, once you get that feeling, they're gonna help a little bit. They're gonna try to help a little bit to try to help somebody move up. Okay, but the top person in the third circle, they're really not trying on their own to go down to the people in the middle and really spend much of their time. It's not that they don't want to help. It's just they're busy. They're busy selling cars. So they're really not going to have the time to do it, but they will help out when somebody comes and asks, for sure. They will help out, okay? So that's what I'm thinking about the three circles. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. You also, too, at the beginning, got to be careful. You got to be careful that you don't have people in the middle circle, okay? Your heartbeat of the culture. You got to make sure they're not trying to tear down that top person because they're jealous, because they feel like it's making them look bad because they're not doing the results that they need. Don't allow them to try to tear that person down or put excuses on why that person sells so many cars. I promise you, in most cases, that person that sells so many cars is just because they're simply outworking you. Simply outworking you. That's why they're doing it. That's why they're selling more cars. Okay, so don't get it twisted, and don't let that middle circle affect the top guy, because that happens too. Now, you can talk about this culture all you want with inside your dealership until you actually monitor it, and you're there all the time, and as soon as you see him step out of line, you're on top of it right away. It's not going to change. Okay, and you gotta make sure, if there's more managers with inside your company, that you guys all agree on this. You all agree, and you can't just have one person that's monitoring it. You got to talk about this all the consistency. Talk about it every day, every meeting. Yep, salespeople are going to go, oh my Lord, here we go. Same talk, same bullshit. But you got to talk about it over and over and over again. Okay. You cannot let a day go by where you don't talk about the culture. If it's a non-negotiable for you, you talk about it every single day, every day. And as soon as they step out of line, you're on top of it. Okay. So again, you're always going to have that top circle, and that top circle is going to be probably your top performer. And then you're going to have the heartbeat of the culture. You're going to have the majority of the staff. And that majority of the staff, they're going to love the culture. I promise you, they're going to love it. You just got to make sure that you're on top of it. They're going to love it. They're going to love where they work. They're going to love their manager. They're going to love the dealership. They're going to love the customers. And they're going to be an advocate for you on this. Okay? They're going to try to pull the bottom people up, and they're going to try to hopefully be like the top person. And it's going to be an amazing thing. It takes a lot of work. It took me a couple years to really get that. You got to find the right people. You got to make sure that when you're hiring people, you talk about it. Hey, this is the culture here. This is the culture. And the moment that you step out of line, we're done. Okay? If you step out of line, we're done. This is the culture. This is the way it is. It's not easy, but I promise you, it's probably one of the most amazing things I've ever done. Because not only is it so awesome that the dealership hums like that, but you get to walk into work and there's no drama, and there's no bullshit that you have to deal with. It's just every day, everybody's there for everybody. Everybody's working towards a common goal. Everybody's trying to help each other out. Nobody's greedy. It's just amazing. Now there has to be a little bit of competition in there, and you got to push a little bit on to hey, let's get a little bit better. But you can do it and still maintain the culture. If you go into a dealership, you go into a company, and you try to we're just going to wreck shop, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a terrible place to work. Maybe the results do go up for a little bit. Maybe you get that spike in the results, but I promise you, in the long run, it ain't going to work. It's going to be terrible. The majority of the people aren't going to want to be there. Yeah, you might gain one more top performer, but I've actually let go of top performers when I've taken over before, because I knew that if I replaced them, I could sell more cars. Even if the person I didn't replace them with, if they sold less cars, I knew the other people would just sell more cars if that person was gone, because they were a disruption to the culture. So sometimes you got to get rid of the top performer if they're the one ruining the culture. a little bit rare that you have a top performer that ruins the culture, but it's possible. I've seen it. I've had it happen to me a couple times, and that's a tough one. That's a tough one, especially if you're not in the position to let them go and you have to go talk to somebody. Imagine going to your boss and explaining to your boss that you're going to let go of the top performer because you're going to sell more cars once they leave. That's not an easy conversation. So hopefully you just don't have to deal with that. But if you do, hopefully your boss and everybody else is on the same page with you, because if the culture is non-negotiable, it's non-negotiable regardless how many cars you sell. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate you watching. Again, stick to the culture. Set it in stone. Stick to it every single day. Talk about it every single day, and don't let people get out of control. You've got to maintain the culture. And remember the 3 circles: top performer, heartbeat of the dealership, and then you got the most negative person that's not selling cars. Okay, and they're all trying to drag. Okay, they're trying to drag them into the middle. They're trying to drag them into the middle. You got to get everybody to the top. You got to try to get everybody to the top. And if they don't want to get to the top, and you got a decent heartbeat, you're gonna win. I promise you, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. So today, think about the culture. Think about what you got going on. Start thinking about everybody that you have at the dealership, and put them in the circle. What circle are they in? What circle are they in? And what do they got to do to improve, to maybe get to the next circle, to get up above? Can you get the guy at the bottom? Can you get that person at the bottom into the heartbeat of the culture? Can you do it? If not, let them go. All right, guys. You guys have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.
We all show up, but we ain't built the same. One's chasing glory, one's playing the game. One's got the gift, don't break a sweat. The other's out here grinding with nothing